you could see what I see, our communities in unity, no frustration from brutality, with our black nation a reality.
This is my perspective, it's my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, it's my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, it's my perspective, my perspective, is my perspective.
Welcome everybody to another episode of the New African Perspective. That is the show that is dedicated to the liberation of new African people. I am your host, Brother Prophecy, and riding with me every week, I am so fortunate, so blessed, so all of that, because I get to sit next to the president and vice president, the strong, powerful, beautiful queens,
Mama Ayo
and Sister Sama'at.
And we are a part of something called the New African Independence Movement. Now, that means that we are struggling for land independence and nationhood, and ultimately, the ultimate goal is to establish an independent, sovereign black nation. Now, to a lot of people, that idea seems really big. Like, man, how you get a whole nation by yourself, y'all? But actually, it's not as difficult as you see, as it looks, because there are actually four things that a people need in order to be considered a nation. What are those four things?
Well, of course, you have to have a people. Of course, you have to have an identifiable land, and you know that's our 5 states in the South. And of course, we also need a country out of all the countries in the world to recognize our claim to be sovereign. And the final one, of course, is
A working government.
which is the provisional government of the Republic of New Africa.
So right now, as it stands, we got 3 out of 4 of those things. We got a people, identifiable people. We have a land mass in which we're struggling for. And you have to understand, you don't have to be in control of the land. You just simply have to be struggling for it in order to be considered a nation. And, you know, we have a government. We're working on getting that recognition from another country.
Exactly.
And it's important because a lot of people don't understand just being recognized. That opens you up to resources, international resources, because right now, you know, as you're just a domestic colony under the United States, when things happen, they look at that as a domestic affair. But when you're struggling for nationhood, then you can gain resources from other countries. You get a seat at the UN, and all of those things like the World Court open up to you. So, you know, we're not just talking about starting a nation just to be, you know, saying it. There are actually true benefits that we can gain by simply struggling for that being our target, for that being our strategy.
And we have been struggling, as we said before. We were traveling to countries like Tanzania, China, of course, Cuba, all of these different nations who are fighting against colonialism, imperialism, you know. And we know that through the years that COINTELPRO and others, we've been attacked, internal challenges and strife. We've been rebuilding these last few years, and so it's very, very important. We will be reaching out. We are still reaching out. We are still known around the world, but we're coming back, I think, bigger and stronger and much more disciplined and much more focused because we're doing the work. We're in the process of work, study, and training.
Definitely. So, hey, now you know, we're not just struggling for a nation just to be talking, trying to put in that work. But Madam President.
That work.
Yeah, that work. Madam President, what we got on tap for our show today?
Okay, so in our cadre corner, we're going to be going over another one of my favorite documents next to Ujamaa is the original administrative handbook that was originally a part of the Code of Umoja. We got to go over that. Y'all got to get your hands on that so you can see the organizational, how we were organized on the governmental level and on the local level It's very, very deep. Mama Io's going to go further into that. And then, of course, in our Black Power Files, we are going to be honoring our infamous Baba Imari Obadele. Very important
Extremely
person.
important.
Very important person in terms of the new African independence movement. You're going to learn more about that. And then, of course, our hot topic of the day, our main topic of the day, is breaking the chains of colonial mindset. Breaking colonial mindset. We're going to get into that because it's all about the mind space. So we're going to go deeper into that and go into some ways and means to do that.
Definitely.
Stepping outside that box.
I guess we better start out with some of the happenings of the week, you know.
My goodness.
The happenings.
Yeah, you just heard that music. Dum, 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 dum. Here we go, y'all. Last week we talked about Kyle Rittenhouse and how the judge in that case was biased, obviously biased. And I said, you can rewind it. This is what I said. I'm gonna channel back to a week ago.
Yes.
He getting off, y'all. So don't even worry about it. He getting off. Now, of course, he got off. Not guilty. All charges. Boom. Free to go. Now, I can't say I was wrong about one thing because I said he might face like that weapons charge. That was pretty cut and dry. But he didn't even get that one because the judge dropped the charge. Just like he just found some kind of justification and just say, okay, that's good enough. You're free to go. Crazy. But what y'all think about this?
This is the United Snakes of America's justice system. Okay? Come on. What more evidence do we need as a people to change the direction in which we go? What more evidence do we need? Every week our hot topics is going to be revealing more and more and more of the type of environment that we live in. As Mama Ayo says, oh yes, more and more revealings of the modern day lynchings, more and more revealings of all of the injustice, and on every single level, the miseducation system, the legal system, the you slaving and giving all of your time and all of your energy and all of your brilliance to who? Is it to you and your family and your legacy? We have to ask these questions.
They're very, very important. I find it very, very interesting to know that we all saw the footage. We saw the unfolding of the events. We're sitting there just listening to the information and to see obvious bias, obvious, just misinterpretation of the law and the intent. And I find it very interesting for someone to claim self-defense when you illegally, because you're underage, bringing a weapon into an event that has masses and masses of people, and you feel it's self-defense when people are saying, hey, what are you getting ready to do? They thought you're getting ready to be a mass killer. Of course they're going to chase you down. That's the climate of America. And then you turn around and begin to shoot them. Everybody saw that. How can it be self-defense when you came into a crowd with the purpose of shooting? You just didn't get the chance because you were getting ready to get chased. But it also shows, comrades, brothers and sisters, beloveds, look at how they will treat themselves under the U.S. Constitution, state and local law, when they feel it's going to be to their benefit. And it sends a message to you and I. If they treat their own in such a way, in glaringly letting them off, how are they going to treat us? And I rest my case.
That's a really good point, especially because this case really, really shows the contradiction between how black people are treated, white people are treated by this injustice system. Even though he killed some white people, they were white people who were advocating for a black man who was shot in the back 7 times by the police. But I mean, not only did he shoot 3 people, killing 2 of them, and walk straight past the police, which is a direct contradiction to Jacob Blake, which the protest was for, who was walking to his car with his children in his car, who got shot in the back 7 times. And the reason why they shot him 7 times is because they ran out of bullets. They couldn't shoot him 8. But not only that, but 2 days before the verdict, there was actually a Native American woman who was in prison for shooting her rapist. In prison for shooting her rapist. Not somebody that she came to a protest and pointed an AR-15 at. She was convicted and in prison. 27-year-old Madison George killed Christopher Grabber, who had raped her 2 days prior, and then was attacking her, trying to get into her car while she sat locked in her car, and she shot him. No self-defense then. But not only that, in the same city in which Rittenhouse was found not guilty in, a young girl, which is waiting trial now, and this is a lot of attention is back on this case, but she's now 19 years old, Crystal Kaiser. But when she was 17 years old, she was a victim of sex trafficking and sexual abuse. And she killed her abuser. And now she's up for prison now. Facing life in prison now. So a lot of, I encourage everybody to pay a lot of attention to this case because it hasn't been a lot said about it. Yeah. So, but she killed her abuser, and let's see, will they treat her the same way they treated Kyle Rittenhouse?
So we're saying that it's perfectly okay to be kidnapped, meted out as a sex slave, and you have no right to defend yourself. Oh, I think that's a pretty low for even the moral majority in this country. We know that it's wrong. You're taking someone's rights away. You are putting them into a situation in which they have no control of themselves. And I believe she was 16 at the time.
Yeah, she was 16 when she first began to be abused by this white man.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting that these ladies were arrested at all when they were just defending themselves. Yet what do you expect from a country that was built on rape?
Good point.
Definitely. One of them already sent to prison. The next one awaiting her fate. And both of these women were abused. And they just stood up against their abuser, their attacker, their rapist. Well, hey, that's white supremacy for you.
That's not only white supremacy. That takes the whole issue of patriarchy, the whole issue of sexism as well, because you're treating women who are supposed to complement you as a piece of property. Anything that you do to them is supposed to be okay, and that comes from a Roman Greco mentality, and that's something that we as new African people have to purge from our systems. It is critical because we cannot take on those values. Those values are not our values.
And those values are a part of white supremacy.
Absolutely.
That is what is pushed in this particular system of white supremacy.
Exactly. One thing we have to always be conscious of, living under a system of white supremacy. See, association breeds assimilation. Mm-hmm. And once you've been under a system of white supremacy, you begin to adopt the mindset of white supremacy. And even though you can be talking about you hate white supremacy as much as you want to, unconsciously, we can promote it and not even know it.
Exactly. And that goes back to that self-work that is necessary in work, study, and training, so you can transform your mind to become new African, transform our minds to loving each other again, transform our minds and our hearts and our spirit to building Black family again. It's a process.
It's a process. But we're going to get a lot into that a little later when we talk about breaking the colonial mindset. You know, that's really important. You know, it's another story I thought about. I meant to talk about it last week, but we didn't get to it. But we haven't talked about COVID in a while. A study came out using 800,000 veterans. They basically showed there's something that we already knew, that all three of the vaccines in which are used in the United States loses its effectiveness over time, like a whole lot, like from like 80% down to 40% within 6 months. In the case of Johnson & Johnson, it's like down to like 13% effectiveness. And when we say effectiveness, we're not talking about prevention of spread. We're talking about prevention of hospitalization and death, because that's what they're supposedly prevent. So the NBA, if you follow the NBA, you know, they had they've been in a lot of news about the vaccine, about who's vaccinated, who's not. Kyrie Irving's not even playing because of that, and a lot of people weigh in on that. But they have actually begun to change their protocol to meet what's going on, because after 6 months, even if you're fully vaccinated with the Moderna and the Pfizer, you have to go back into regular testing like unvaccinated people. And for Johnson & Johnson, it's after 2 months, I believe, 2 or 3 months. So, you know, I bring that up because, you know, we always have said they've been trying to mandate that, and the mandate actually got suspended, which is, you know, a good thing for companies over 100 employees. But we've always said they're pushing this mandate and trying to force people to make a medical decision about putting something in their bodies, which is immoral and wrong. And now they're creating a divide between vaccinated versus unvaccinated, and they're trying to demonize people who don't want to take this vaccine because we don't trust y'all, along with other things, because y'all not telling the whole truth. And I mean, the science even bears out that, look, the vaccine is not really effective. You know, it after so long, it wanes. We've seen that in other countries. You're gonna need, according to them, you're gonna need a booster shot. They're promoting booster shots now.
Already.
Highly vaccinated states have an increase in COVID-19. We know that. We know that was gonna happen. So, you know, the question is, stop pushing this mandate. Stop creating this divide and trying to demonize people because they want to make a reasonable decision and be like, look, the virus is dangerous. I got like a 98% of the people who catch it recover and are fine. You know what I'm saying? Majority of people are going to be fine with this. Not taking the vaccine is a reasonable choice. Ain't nothing stupid. Ain't nothing crazy about that. That's reasonable and that's logical. Stop demonizing people. Am I off on that? You know,
you're not off at all. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm loving everything that's happening right now because it's forcing us to see what's really happening, what environment we really look at, what environment we really live in. Your rights, you don't have no rights. Your human right to say I don't want poison in my body, they trying to manipulate and play with that. You know, I love it. I love it. Now it's up to us to make the decision of what it is that we're going to do. How strong-minded are you? This is a test. These are tests to see where we are as a people. Absolutely. Where are we? Do we still believe everything that Master give you? Mm-hmm. And you believe in it and you want it and you think that it's going to do your body well, but it never has? Come on. Let's look at the track records. Our people die in the hospitals every single day, way more than we get murdered on the street. But we want to trust these people and the folks that work for these people to tell us what's good for our well-being over you, over listening to you. You go to the hospital, you say X, Y, and Z. I'm having problems with whatever I have going on. And most of the time, they're going to just prescribe you some medication. And that's just going to cover up, but it's never going to deal with the root of the problem or the issue. That's how you heal. You eliminate the problem. You eliminate what is causing your sickness, not just suppress it or, make your symptoms go away. No, you want those symptoms. Those symptoms are telling you, hey, something ain't right. Let's fix it. Whatever you're doing, not working.
We all know the problems. We can see them. We can feel them. They're all around us. But aren't you tired of just talking about the problem? Let's talk about the solution.
Free the land. Join us for New African Nation Day 54, March 25th through 27th, 2022 in Birmingham, Alabama. Free the land. Study the writings, speeches, documents of our freedom fighters in order to free our neo-colonialized minds. This is the Cadre Corner. Okay, today we are getting ready to give you a kind of a synopsis of the Government Administrative Handbook. Comrades, when you go through this particular document, especially if you've already studied the 8 strategic elements, it is like almost the next level because it actually brings into play how are we going to be more organized as a government. And it covers so many different aspects, the different types of ministries, what we're supposed to have on a local level, how long we're supposed to be actually providing information to any conscious citizen that wants to become a citizen on record. I bet you haven't heard of that term. What is a citizen on record? A citizen of record, according to the Administrative Handbook, and remember this was written right back in the 1969, possibly 1968, it tells us that we have to go through a course of study, and that study has to be verified by one of the regional vice presidents, and once they verify it, you are then to take the oath of allegiance to the Republic of New Africa, which is something that we totally have gotten off kilter because for some reason this Government Administrative Handbook went missing. Nevertheless, it tells us the duties and the rights of a citizen. The duties of a citizen: bring your talents, bring other people in, and have them put those talents to the service of the government, the service of the race, in other words. Another thing is paying of taxes, making sure that you're consistently being in work, study, and training. And there are some magnificent training manuals, knowing all the basic documents of the government, making sure that you go over the War in America, which is a foundational document, of course, by Obadeli. Also knowing that having a nation building course. And it's wonderful because on a local level where we have our different units or our cells or our work study, you are becoming almost a mini version of the governmental structure. Someone's going to be in the Ministry of Information. Someone's going to be treasurer. Someone's going to be minister or in the Ministry of Education. It is just a natural progression of who and what we want to be as far as being organized in the Republic of New Africa. So although many things are not the same, the document remains firm as a guide to as we move forward in our government and our sovereignty. Free the land.
All right, that's the Government Administrative Handbook.
Right.
That seemed like an extremely important document right there, with a lot of information that a lot of people haven't known for some years now.
Absolutely.
That was good work in digging that one up. Okay.
Yeah.
So how can we find this? This is something that this might be a project we need to make this more readily available for the citizens.
I'm pretty sure that if it's not on the website, it will soon be on the website through our Minister of Information.
Okay, all right. So with that, guess we got to get into our topic, our main topic.
Ooh, you sure you want? You sure?
Yeah, I
Sure.
mean, we're here in Idlewild City, which is AKA Memphis, Tennessee, and it's been. And usually we don't talk about this type of stuff on the show, but I think it's relevant to this particular conversation. There's this rapper by the name of Young Dolph, and he was murdered like last Wednesday,
Condolences.
broad daylight, in front of Makila's Cookies, cookie shop. And that's a black-owned business. It's been in the community for a long time. We love Makila. But he was murdered, and this brother was very successful. Was not a perfect brother by any means, but he seemed to have his mind trending in a positive direction because he was known to give back to the community a lot. Seemed like he's the type of brother, if the right person got his hands on him, he could be a powerful force within the community, period.
Yes.
And he was gunned down. He was murdered in broad daylight. Which brings us to our subject. Because too many times we have young soldiers in the streets and they're pointing the gun at each other. And this is the result of being indoctrinated into a system of white supremacy. Really, it's the highest form of white supremacy. We don't even realize it because basically we have been programmed to kill each other, to hate each other, to pull each other down so thoroughly that white people don't even have to do it anymore.
Exactly.
So what we want to talk about now is, how do we break this colonized mentality? What do we need to do that? Y'all have any thoughts on this?
First of all, we need to. It's difficult to break any type of mentality if you don't have a principle code that you live by, that you stand on. We as New Africans, we have the New African Creed, right, which lists the ways and means in which we are vowing to treat each other, we're vowing to what it is that we are building, how we're going to treat each other, how we're going to love on one another, and what that looks like. So if you don't have a principle base, the creed, the laws of Ma'at, a code that you live by, it's going to be very difficult because you don't know what you're shifting or changing your behavior to, and you don't know what the goal and objective of what it is that you do on a daily basis is leading to. If you have a goal and objective, you know how to conduct yourself. If you have a goal and objective to end capitalism, you're going to conduct yourself in a different way. If you have a goal and objective to bring together black families and to reunite the black man and the black woman to create a healthy, wholesome bond that perpetuates life itself, you're going to do what is necessary to get to that final destination. So if our final destination is land, independence, self-determination, and reparations, meaning repairing ourselves on every single level, we're talking about mentally and psychologically right now, we have to do that work. But we have to have those principles to stand on, something to compare it to. Like, okay, right now this is the state. We don't love each other. What it is that we have to do to get to the point where we're loving one another. What is that? That's words. That's how we think about one another, how we treat each other with our words, our deeds, our actions. It's a step by step, minute by minute thing that we have to be consciously aware of shifting. And that takes some work and self-discipline.
And it takes work not only for you to work on self, but it being around others that are doing the same thing. Because we're not just building for self, we're building for the family, because the family is broken. We're building for the community is broken. The nation is broken. The race is under attack. We are in a state of emergency. So we are saying we're stepping out of paradigms. We're stepping out of boxes because we have to look at each other as a beautiful people. We have to definitely know where we came from. Because if you don't know where you come from, You do not know where you're going. So we talk about that education. We talk about sitting down and looking critically at we call rituals of family, rituals of courtship, rituals of marriage, birth, engagements, wedding, death. And we need to say, is that who we are as new Africans, or are we taking and assimilating some of those value systems into what we are? Some of those things have to be broken. And when we talk about violence towards each other, you know, everybody heard of Willie Lynch. If you and I are not the manifestations of Willie Lynch, who is? Whether it's a document that people believe is fictitious or not, truth is in the document. So if we're saying that we're pitting the old against the young, the dark skin against the light skin, the man against the woman, don't it is our blood responsibility. It is our blood responsibility to make sure those paradigms shift. It's been a long, long time, brothers and sisters, beloveds, since you could walk down the street and somebody saying, "How you doing, sister? How you doing, brother?" Helping an elder cross the street, making sure nothing happens to that elder. It's been a long, 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 long time. Don't you think the madness should stop? Should stop. Our responsibility, especially for the brothers who are the most under attack. Not to say that we're not all, but the job of all organizations, all movements, is to make sure that the women, the children, and the elders are protected, as Malcolm says, by all and any means necessary. Not aggressed upon, but protected. And so that means, is it going to be a change in our lifestyle? Is it going to be a change in our music? Is it going to be a change in the way we speak our love language to each other? And those things come little by little as you shed your traumas and the dramas, because we all got that. We all have come from places, things have happened to us, but do we perpetuate them, or we say, okay, it's going to stop right here? I think young Dolph was trying to do that, because he came from an area that, hey, we live in the life. But he tried to show that, yes, I made it, but I'm giving back to my community. When's the last time you've seen all that? Giving back. And
he could have left Memphis. He didn't have to live in Memphis. He didn't have to, be in South Memphis. He didn't have to do. He did that because he loved the city. And that's the heartbreaking thing, because these are the people that we should try to encourage, because it's a lot of people who make it be successful, whether that's entertainment or just business or whatever, and they leave and they never look back. And if they look back, they looking down upon the place they came from. He wasn't like that. I think it's a brother by the name of Robert Williams who said, black people don't kill white boys because we haven't been trained to kill white boys. We've been trained to kill ourselves. We've been indoctrinated and taught to kill ourselves for over 400 years. And we've learned that lesson far too well. And it all starts and it ends with control, because whoever is your educator, that's your master. And if we are being educated and indoctrinated by a system that has been based on the exploitation of our people, then they're not going to teach us how to liberate ourselves. They're not going to teach us how to free ourselves. Because we got to understand, them young brothers that killed Young Dolph, those are supposed to be our warriors. They're supposed to be our soldiers. Let me ask, if them brothers listening, let me ask you this question. If you bad enough to kill somebody in the middle of the day, at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, in broad daylight, where was you? I mean, on airways, right outside of airways. Where were you when they killed Darius Stewart right up there on Winchester? Where were you when they killed Antonio Jackson right there in the Robin Hood apartments in Orange Mound? Where were you when they killed that brother who was from Chicago sitting at Kroger, who got murdered by that security guard? Where were y'all then? What we got to understand is our job and our responsibility, the responsibility of a man, period, is to be the protector of the community. That's our African heritage. That's what we were. That's what we were born. That's our tradition.
Yes.
And it didn't change until we became indoctrinated into a system of white supremacy. We always reference other shows when they talked about an African value system versus a European value system. When you sitting up there, you killing your own people, and it looked like it probably was some jealousy stuff. He was a guy who made it, and I don't think he pulled me up like he should have pulled me up or something. Something petty, Because don't let me speculate because I don't know. But when we are displaying this type of behavior, this type of self-destructive behavior, it only reinforces the fact that we gotta have control. We gotta gain control over the educational system. We gotta control the media. We gotta control the propaganda. We gotta control all those things that are controlling the thoughts and the minds of our youth and our people, our men, our women, of everybody. Well, I'm gonna get off my soapbox because we be talking about this all the time, all day, because it's just, it frustrates me.
But you said some key words. Both of y'all said some really, really, really key points. So it's the self-destruction. The reason why we destroy one another, because we don't love ourselves. We have to learn how to love ourselves again. And when I say love yourself, I mean love every aspect about yourself. The way you look, the way you move, your sense of style. Tap into you. We're so used to looking outside of ourselves in terms of what it is we should be doing. You was born, your birthright. You are your own birthright. You have everything that you need. You came to the planet with every single thing that you need, every gift, every talent, all of that. And we have to, when we say Black power, and it's really tapping back into ourselves, loving ourselves, who we are collectively. Because that's going to shift how we treat one another when we really, really, really love yourself. When you love yourself and you respect yourself and you honor yourself, it feels so magnificent. It feels so wonderful. You want other people to feel that feeling of bliss, because that is a blissful feeling when you love yourself and when you honor yourself and when you cherish yourself, because then you really, really tapping into your own innate power that you were born with. That is your birthright, and that is what we fight to protect. These brothers was not in the business of protecting Black family. They threw their responsibility as men to our community, to our village, out the window by destroying a Black family. This is a Black family married to a Black queen with Black children. New African family destroyed. We can't afford that. We cannot afford that. This self-destructive behavior.
Particularly since we know that there is an attack. So we're going to be attacked on two fronts, on two sides of the sword. You know that there is the, and it's not a conspiracy theory. We know that there's an attack on the Black family. Otherwise, we wouldn't have most of our brothers, fathers, sisters, fiancés in jail. We know that. We know that the welfare system is an attack on the Black family. It's something that we deserve. The medical system, attack on the Black family. So when we have that, the system against us, and then our own people who look like us, who we've birthed, who we've nurtured, to attack as well, it's pretty. It's frightening. It's frightening, and we know that there is a solution. You and I are the solution. It's just the changing of a mindset, and we call it stepping out of the box. Stepping out the box.
And you said something really key too, Mama Ayo, earlier, in terms of changing our rituals. Everybody does rituals, so don't get caught up in the word ritual. Everybody does rituals every single day. Absolutely. What rituals are you and I going to adopt to shift our paradigm into something that's favorable to us as a people, something that is that connects us more to our nature, connects us more to one another, connects us in love and in light and in building what it is that we need to build to be self-sufficient and self-sustaining. Yes.
And one thing I think we have to start doing is we have to stop accepting certain things. We got to do it. We got to hold ourselves accountable. One thing, there's a lot of issues that I have with the LGBT movement, not with them particular people, but the movement. But one thing I can say is, if you say anything, do anything that is against what they trying to promote, they coming for you. They gonna come from you hard. And I think to a certain level, we got to get some of that. Like where it is that you can't. We got to stop accepting like music that glorifies disrespecting women and murdering black men, women, and children. We got to stop glorifying it. A lot of young people think that you getting on a song talking about killing another black man, that's keeping it 100. No, that's keeping it self-destructive. What you actually doing, and you're preaching white supremacy, and you don't even realize it. You know what I'm saying? And we have accepted that. We gotta stop that. We gotta stop accepting the racism, white supremacy, and we gotta stop the accepting the racism and white supremacy from our own people.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
And you also said it's our responsibility in holding ourselves accountable.
Exactly.
The word responsibility, we use that word too freely. Responsibility means our ability to respond.
Yes.
Just what Brother Prophecy just said. What is our response? Not how we're reactionary, a real response to what is being portrayed, what is being given, to the events that are happening. What is our response?
And that is the test. Because when you do that, you begin to psychologically, physically, and particularly economically begin to move yourself out of a box and put your energies somewhere else. Paying attention, being more respectful, making sure we protect. And and of course, we also know that it's a hard thing because we are under attack on so many levels. The very highways and byways, the very television sets, the very music being pumped into our ear, the vibrations of this land is totally against who we are and what we are as a people, and that attests to our strength because we can overcome it. The melanin that we have, that glorious secret weapon, it can do great things, and it is definitely possible if we're in the right vibration, the right diet, the right mentality, the purpose, because it's all about heart and will. We can overcome all of it. All of it.
Definitely. The brother Young Dolph, we're talking about him or using him, to as a catalyst for this conversation because it's a high profile case. But the reality is, Young Dolph happened every night.
Every night.
It was a Young Dolph last night. The people not even talking about.
It was 4 other Young Dolphs the same day. Young Dolph passed. Exactly.
So we're not saying his life is more valuable than anybody else. He just got a high profile. Exactly. That's it. But every night somebody is losing a husband, a son, a daughter, uncle, father, mother, and we're losing them. We're losing them for the wrong reason. We're losing them from friendly fire. Exactly. We're under attack by the enemy. So we have to get the enemy that is within me, the inner me. Go to the inner me to eradicate the enemy that is in me. I was trying to use some wordplay, but anyway.
Yes, they got it. Y'all got it.
Yeah. So
condolences to Young Dolph's family. Condolences to the community. Condolences again. We can be on in prayer every single day. It's just a layer upon layer of condolences as these babies continue to be born. Condolences.
And y'all, let's yes, Ashe, Mama Ayo, Ashe, and I want us to take this to heart, okay? To heart. We need to take this to heart. I want us to feel the pain of the families. We have to start feeling the pain. Some of us have already felt the pain of losing a child, the pain of losing a brother, that's pain, that's trauma. We have to start responding to our trauma properly. We have to. We're dying. We're continually dying. Nothing has changed from the time of quote unquote chattel slavery. Every single day we was losing children, being separated from children, family members dying in front of our face, and we still seeing that to this day. We have to take on the responsibility. Our responsibility is nobody else's. Ain't nobody going to do it for us. There's nobody outside of yourself, nobody outside of ourselves that's going to do this work for us. We have to put in that real work.
Yeah. And support Makila to get her back up and running, you know, because that's like an added tragedy on top of a tragedy that business, that black-owned business is boarded up, shut down. But, you know, trying to change the energy a little bit because we have a Black Power file that is extremely powerful and about a brother that if you're part of the new African independence movement, you better know that brother. But a lot of people who are outside, I know you don't. Mari Obadeli coming up next, right after this.
Yes.
Baba,
Free the land.
I am, I will.
By any means necessary.
Somebody lied to us. Tried to turn us against each other, you know what I'm saying? Europeans murdered 98% of the indigenous population right here in Turtle Island in order to steal the land. An entire nation of African people were captured and forced into a brutal system of chattel slavery just so they could work and cultivate the land. All wars are fought over land, not over terrorism, not over religion, not even to win the hearts and minds of the people, but for the actual land and the resources within the land. So it is safe to say that land is the foundation to all freedom. So if we truly want to be free, then our struggle is for land. Free the land. Leaders, scholars, freedom fighters, all those soldiers who've been struggling for the liberation of black people. This is the Black Power 5.
Secondly, so far as we're concerned here in America, we have, as black people, been separated out into our separate community, a community of suffering. It's been almost continuous since our arrival here. I don't know of any black people who've ever escaped. We are a nation, a distinctly separate nation with a different set of humor, myths, a way of looking at history, a totally different view of ourselves in this country from, I would imagine, the view which most white people have. And then we are separated as a matter of institution from most of the good things of the American life. When you say that American black people should have some hope for integration into the whole of American life, they'd have to be absolute fools if they looked around and they realized that you had approximately 435 congressmen with 6 Negro congressmen. Perhaps one black one. The political power certainly couldn't be considered to be shared. You look about at the economic power. We can't think, only a fool would think that economic power in this country is shared to any degree by black people. The productivity of this country, $850 billion per year, tremendous productivity, ability to produce goods and services. Black people have very little to do with that. The manufacturing potential of black people in this country is practically nil after all the 100 or so years that we've been here. You look at the protection before the courts. The black people are markedly unprotected before the courts. Look at the open housing situation that you're now talking about all over this country. Open housing is a myth. It's completely unrealistic and from our standpoint, of course, undesirable. But we're trying to look at it from the standpoint of your American dream. What do you say about the American dream that has ever been realized by black people? What could we ever hope for within the framework of a society which is dominated by white people, in which the very factor of race enters into every consideration, into the price of an insurance premium, into the place we live, into the job we share. We look at the unemployment, the underemployment, and I say the unemployment rate among black youth today is at a staggering thing. White people would jump off of buildings if they had to endure what average black people take for granted, as a matter of everyday existence.
Those were the wise words of Imari Obadele, very important individual in the New African Independence Movement, someone who, established a lot in the New African Independence Movement, a scholar, a writer, read his work all of the time. What do y'all think about this brother?
Well, he's. I do have to be honest that coming into the New African Independence Movement and reading a lot of documents before being exposed to writings by Imari Abubakari Obadele, it was like a light went off in my head, and I continue to be a student of learning because he wrote a lot of articles on behalf of the provisional government, and through those articles and the different types of texts that have come from him, you can tell his undying love for us to be free, to be sovereign, to have reparations. He's had a very, very eventful life. Not just him, but the people who were what we call in a collective movement with him, the New African Independence Movement, Malcolm X grassroots. You talk about NAPO, you talk about Legionnaires, you talk about New African Security Forces, everything that you could think of as far as freeing the land and the provisional government. His hand, his voice, his guidance, his insight, along with others, is in there. But we want to focus a little bit on him. He was born in Philadelphia, I believe May 2nd, 1930. Grew up in Philadelphia until eventually he's one of, I believe, 12 children. So he had a very large family. So you know that there were a couple of Henrys that were in the Black Power movements. I understand he had a brother that was definitely a part of the Malcolm X grassroots, and through his brother, Imari came, and eventually they moved to Detroit. And after Malcolm was assassinated, I think they began to pick up their political ability, their Black Power essence, and began to organize and talk, and which culminated in of course, the establishment of the first convention, Black convention, that they called together. And of course, you hear people say 100 people, 200 people, but I've read documents lately that said there were 500 people that showed up, and even more, because some of people, just were there as observers. And to talk, organize, cajole, debate, until we came up with the preamble and the Declaration of Independence over 3 days. I think it's phenomenal. And I can say that he has written, The Struggle is for Land, the Malcolm X Doctrine, so many different articles, A People's Struggle. It goes on, the list goes on and on and on. And Foundations of the Black Nation. There's many more, and as we go through some of his writings and his belongings, there's even more documents surfacing. So he was constantly writing. He was part of the attack in 1971. In, of course, in Medgar Eversville. He wasn't in the house, but he was in a residence close by, and because he was known as the president at that time, because he took over from Robert Williams, he was taken as well, and eventually convicted. And I think he served a good 5 to 6 years while there. And after he did come out, he went on to obtain his professorship, his PhD in political science. And after that, once they analyzed, and what is beautiful about Imari is that he was able to rally through his words and his actions, rally a lot of notables like Chokwe. You talk about Mama Nkechi, you talk about Mama Dara, you talk about the Bilal Sunni Alis. I mean, he just had people upon people upon people that laid their time and their minds down for the Republic of New Africa, and they came up with, when I say that we had some lawyers, those first founding mothers and fathers, Queen Mother Moore, of course, they laid down some heavy documents on behalf of the nation, and it is up to us to kind of build upon it. That's kind of what I know and continue to learn about him.
Yes, and his ability was to respond was extremely strong, because I mean, first off, coming into the provisional government of the Republic of New Africa, saying that you want to be a conscious citizen, about 80% of the foundational documents that you will read was written by Baba Imari Obadele. That's how prolific his role is in the New African Independence Movement. Laid down the foundational documents, so all that come after me will know exactly what it is that we're fighting for, going to know the climate of the political climate of the day, so you can know why it is that we did what we did, why the strategy was this at that particular time, and this is what we did, this is what worked, this is what we need to improve on, and then of course he leaves it open for us to continue the work, build upon what it is that he laid. And we still have to learn the lesson from him, to be extremely involved in our ability to respond, right? Yes. To the current conditions of this day.
Exactly.
Like, okay, I'm the president, right? I'm comparing myself to Baba Obadele in terms of what it is my responsibilities are in terms of the climate, the political climate of today, and what it is that we need to do based upon what our ancestors and our founding mothers and fathers have already done. So this one here, salute.
And what I really liked about him also, Brother Prophecy, is that when he wasn't elected president, did he leave? Did he disappear from the scene? No, he became at some point first vice president. He was also the foreign minister. So he played many, many roles within the government to make sure that the legacy of collective leadership was maintained. And it's a very, very good look for us, and it's a great example that just because we may not be in what we call the PCC or the PRLC, that do we leave the government? We're still going to be conscious citizen workers. So that was really, really encouraging for me, because I'm reading documents now. Oh, he wasn't even president during that time. Oh, he's foreign minister, minister of interior, so many different roles.
Minister of information.
Yes, minister of information. Go on and on and on. So, and it's just a good look.
Speaks to his level of commitment.
Exactly.
100% commitment. That's what we have to be. 100% committed to liberating ourselves, and he put in that work till his dying day.
Yes, exactly.
Definitely. Something that kind of speaks to how important he was. As you mentioned, he was part of the RNA 11, one of the original, people who were arrested, even though he was not in the particular house that did most of the shooting. Exactly. But according to the elder Adiz Ababa, in our interview, he said that the police were basically out there looking for Imari, and much of the fire that they took, they were aiming at his room. So they were trying to assassinate the brother, much like they did our brother Fred Hampton.
Exactly.
So that just kind of speaks to the importance that this brother, had held, because they don't just come to kill anybody, So extremely important brother.
And he also, he was a very, very firm, fierce advocate for reparations. He took over from Queen Mother Moore, and, he helped found the NCOBRA, the National Coalitions of Blacks for Reparations in America. And of course, he actually had a couple of cases where he sent letters to, I've seen a letter to Bill Clinton on reparations. He actually had a case where he brought it forward to the Supreme Court. So he has never stopped So it speaks to me that you don't stop with reparations because it's due. I've taken the baton from Queen Mother Moore. I'm passing it on to all of us. And it's very, very clear, his stance on reparations. Very, very clear. It's even written, of course, into the Code of Umoja. What our land, independence, sovereignty, political prisoners being freed, reparations.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Well, look like we had a information-packed
Yes.
New African Perspective. Y'all got a lot to go digest, study, analyze, and come back next week for some more of this Black Tablet knowledge.
Yes.
Man, as always, this is a joy, my favorite time of the week, but it can't last forever. Until next week, I am Brother Prophecy for Madam President Salma Ott and Madam Vice President Mama Ayo Deli. This is the New African Perspective, Free the Land.
By any and all means necessary.
I will. We will.
Imagine your life with no drama. You live with no trauma. Your chest got more cum. Live in our own.